Well, let's get my best side for you.
Right, tell me about your car. Who's going to tell me?
It's a 1928 Austin 7.
No, it's the 27.
27. Gordon England Cup, which was a sort of coach builder.
How long have you had it?
15 years I think we've had it now.
Right.
This is the first sort of competitive event I've done.
How many owners it had? Don't know.
Not really sure. It was built in the mid 60s. It was rebuilt by Tom Abernethy, who's a sort of marque specialist in this, and he went on to build sort of countless others.
Right.
After finding this one in a scrapyard in Glasgow. So it's had a bit of work. He used the car a good deal in the 60s, early 70s, up and down to Bewley and events. There's photographs of it competing down there, trialling and whatnot.
So is this the first time it's competed for a while?
First time in a while, yeah, first time in a while.
And you're going to bring it back?
Hopefully, yeah, hopefully. I'm in the middle of building another, so I'll
Excellent.
maybe use that one instead of this one, but I thought I'd come along the day and keep the numbers up.
Excellent. Well, you're doing more than that. Right. Tell me about your car.
Well, this is the Moose, which is an Austin 7 special based on a 1932 chassis that I think was found underneath someone's garden shed. Actually, there's a rumour that it was found in Argentina and it had previously been used by Juan Manuel Fangio back in the pre-war, and that's where he cut his motoring teeth.
So basically, it's an Austin 7 enthusiast special made out of bits but looks the period.
That's about it, yes, and it was built by Pete Graham and the engine by Paul Bonewell.
So this is similar story to mine, except looks a bit more period.
Yeah, I mean the whole point of the design was to make it look like something that had been cobbled up in the late 20s or early 30s.
It certainly does.
And in keeping with that, I never polish it or clean it, so that it kind of looks as if it's been around since then. That is deliberate policy. It's not that I'm lazy.
No, I don't believe you.
I don't. Because it now features in the bottle of whiskey that's being used to promote Bowness Hill Climb by Cask 88. And this is the original Moose, which has been coloured red on the bottle to make it look faster apparently. But of course all that paint would add weight, so we don't do that.
Thank you very much.
The wonderful thing about Austin 7s is that there are so many bits and pieces that are readily available and nothing is expensive.
Let me explain to my viewers here, this is the designer of the Moose, so to put it in context.
Well, as I say, the great thing about them is the availability of bits and pieces and also the availability of advice. Austin 7 people are wonderfully enthusiastic and wonderfully free with their advice about what can and can't be done, and particularly for hill climbing, the simplicate and add lightness is the rule. Get rid of absolutely everything you don't need. So we can, although you're always going to end up with limited horsepower, if you can get the weight down and the handling to behave itself, then you get something which is exciting to drive. I mean, this car probably has about 35 brake horsepower, but it only weighs just over 500 weight. So if you do the sums, you're talking 140, 160 brake horsepower per tonne, which is an exciting drive, and for not very much money,
And where did you get all the bits?
Well, there's various stories attached to this car, but a friend of mine who was a teacher, one of his pupils, he had an Austin 7, and one of his pupils said, we've got bits of one of those cars in our garden. So my friend went and had a look, and right enough, it was the remains of an Austin 7 chassis. It was a bit bent and partially dismantled. So he acquired it. And then sometime later I got interested and I acquired it from him for 2 bottles of red wine, which I never paid. I had it for a while decided I wasn't going to do anything with it. And a friend of mine expressed interest, so I sold it to him for 2 bottles of red wine, which he never paid. He decided that he wasn't going to go any further and brought it back. I didn't give him 2 bottles of red wine because that part of the negotiation had never happened. And I had no space for it, so I gave it back to the original source. Sometime later I got interested in Austin 7s again, and I went to the original source and said, "You still got that Austin 7 chassis?" He said, "Yes, well, can I have it back again?" So this, for
Chassis is going
non-existent bottles of red wine, this chassis has moved round Scotland from hand to hand and eventually came back to me, and I straightened it out and basically sorted it out and assembled it and decided what to do with it. You know. So,
thank you very much indeed.
Mining a car that's just done a personal best.
What's this car you're driving today?
Well, it was originally a 1937 Austin 7 Ruby, and it went through various stages in its life and ended up in a box of parts in somewhere in Lanarkshire.
It appears to have lost a few of the parts from a Ruby. A Ruby was a saloon car.
Yes, this is now in the true tradition of racing in Scotland, an Austin 7 Special.
Yes.
So it took me 5 years to build it, and it's now breaking the 72nd by around Forestburn, and I'm absolutely chuffed.
That's excellent. So what modifications have you been doing to it to get it to go so fast?
Well, there's quite a list. A man over there in the paddock built my engine.
Yep.
So that gave me about 3 times as much power as originally.
Wow.
And it's got acquired various other bits of suspension.
Wow. Twin carbs there.
Yeah, it's got twin carbs, it's got Bowden suspension, highly modified.
Yes.
It
Seems to be working all right.
Racing wheels, based on a design from your car. And it goes like shit.
It's got radial tyres on it.
Yes, indeed.
Well, I think the price of the
Yep. I've broken as many rules as I possibly can, and it goes very well.
Excellent. That's
Thank
what
you very
it's all
much
about, isn't it?
A brief summary is this thing appeared in my life as a box of bits. Over the last 5 years, I've now turned it into a 70-second beater.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Listen, what obscure bits have you fitted to the suspension here? I'm sure some of these bits aren't Austin 7. They appear to be entered in the Austin 7 class.
That's not fair.
Home in and that front steering
Oh
rack.
gosh, there's a Hillman steering rack in there.
Home in it steering rack, yes. And aftermarket front dampers.
Oh yeah. And
Which
they
aftermarket?
weren't really supposed to have a double beam spring in there either.
Oh yeah. Oh gosh, yes.
Look at those tie bars going back to the suspension.
Very agricultural.
Yeah. Non-period stainless steel as well. Huh?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
ESCC one like this at all.
What about the wheels? They were copied of yours.
And a starting handle that is redundant because of the timing strut.
And look at this. You mean you've got socket-headed screws on it as well.
Home in on that. Yes,
Socket-headed
yes.
screws not permitted, sir. Sorry, that's disqualified.
What am I supposed to do? Fill them in?
No, use cheese heads.
Yes, use cheese heads.
Cheese heads?
Yeah.
God, blimey.
Proper cheese heads.
These are straight out of Screwfix.
Hey, that's
Well,
what we mean.
yeah, I think that's everything. I think that's the point.
Just use a mole wrench on the steering, do you?
Yes, that's right.
Although there's a steering wheel in there.
Just as well you've already got your period definition form from.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
Otherwise we might
can
have to
revoke
raise
it
some.
all the same.
Well, how about the Monza Annapolis?
I'm just going to go around your car and...
But looking at it in the paddock area, the tyre, it's absolutely bodywork. Crazy. That's what John did.
Oh no, the Roger Alexander master.
Here we have Paul and his fabulous Austin 7 Special. Tell us about your car. How did it come about?
Well, basically it was a pile of bits, which I acquired over many years, just put them in the garage, and when I had enough bits and some time, I decided just to put them all together.
Excellent. And the body style, where did that come from?
Well, I wanted to build a lightweight, compact body, and I felt that it had to reflect the age of the chassis, which was the 30s chassis. So it was styled after a 30s single-seater racing car, basically.
And I think you have achieved that in bucket loads. What is it that gives you the astounding performance that you've got? I mean, you're sub 60 seconds now.
Well, it's maybe not all it appears to be, because although it's all Austin, it's not all pre-war Austin. And it's got a 1950s Austin engine in it, which of course lends itself to a little bit of tuning.
Yes. Yes. Excuse, I'll edit that bit out. And what special features are there on this car?
Well, I don't know.
What do you think is unique relative to...
Well, I don't know if it's unique. I've just tried to get each end of the car as well put together as possible. Like, for instance, it's got a big 7 front axle, which is a bit wider than the standard Austin 7 front axle. The way I've located the spring, it's got panhard rods on it. It's got the friction dampers are special damp ones that have been put further apart. The same on the back. The back's got a panhard rod on it. It's just trying to get the combination of bits as well sorted as possible to make a complete, whole, finished car that works.
And what single biggest piece of advice could you give to somebody starting out the Austin 7 Special route?
Just get the bits, speak to loads of people, see loads of cars, go to loads of events, and you'll get lots of good, solid, supportive advice, and get on with it.
Thank you very much. Right, Alex, tell me about this idea you've got for a historic championship.
Okay, so we've been running Bowness now for the last 14 years, and over the years we're getting more and more cars participate. So the idea is to actually expand that now across Scotland. So rather than just having one event, it's actually to create a Scottish championship that runs over 3 or 4 tracks, which will allow more people to race and will really open it up, but also make it more interesting for the drivers, so that rather than just having the Bowness, they can have their results all brought together, and then we'll have a massive prize giving at Bowness, and then we can then see who won over all the various different events. This week at Forest Burn, we've had a really good turnout, and I think the drivers have really enjoyed itself. It would be great to have it part of that championship.
Thank you very much indeed.
No problem.